Story. You see me now, huh? Tunnels. A load of them linking all parts of Fablesbury. Best bit is, I got easy access to them from down in the basement at my dad's fruit and veg shop. Didn't go down there much when I was little because of the noise of a trolley being dragged around. My dad could hear it too, so he kept the door locked. I wanted a smoke and it was raining out, so I went down to the basement and unlocked the door. Something blew out. It smelled like shit. It was disgusting. I kept the door open and smoked. Not much to look at down there. It was totally dark. Then I heard the wheels. Same ones you get on a shopping cart, cranking over cobblestone. It was a bit ropey, so I put out my fag and went back inside. I got a trolley just like you. I heard a squeaky voice. I asked who's there, but no answer came. I shut the door and locked it quick smart. Darren looked at the flames in the fireplace. That's when I first met Rickety Jones. I got it off him. It's where I'd take them on my trolley. It was easy. Bit of ketamine, dump on the trolley, and roll them down there. Show them who's the man. Nobody could hear anything, and then I just did what I wanted. After, Rickety Jones would take them away on his trolley. I don't know where he would take them, but I used to hear chewing and spitting a lot. Sounded disgusting. So I left him to it. The boy sat in my armchair was 19 years old, messy hair, a grey t-shirt, and tracky pants. 5'2", I'd say. The most unique sense about him was the scent of onions that he oozed. Mortimer sat in his usual spot, face on paws, eyes on a metal flat trolley that was parked in the hallway. Darren brought it with him. He had to. Usually up 3 a.m. It's always the same, dark and soggy. Fablesbury is always like that. Get to the lockup and open the shop before my dad gets back with the fruit and veg. Had to go dump the boxes in the bin, sweep the area, so the fresh stuff can be put on show. Looks all glossy like. Once the fruit and veg was out, my dad would man the shop and I'd do the deliveries with my trolley. Onions. Lots of restaurants and takeaway shops, so onions was really big. I'd deliver around 10, 12 bags a day. Every morning my trolley created a racket rolling over cobbled streets. Clickety, 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 clickety. I didn't mind it so much, but it drove some locals bananas. I'd always pull my trolley past the Vine, a pub there. Wanted to see if Cressa was working. When she saw me, she'd always call out, "Oi, onion boy." She was hot. I'd go in for a few round 2 p.m. after work. Didn't really do a session till the weekend when a few mates were out. But I'd like to see her. We'd have banter. She was nice. Brown hair. A little taller than me, but I didn't mind. I didn't, till I asked her out. Fist clenched. Darren looked at me. Just laughed at me. Would you believe it? He said I needed to wash my hands first, then get a haircut, then get a new pair of tracky pants that didn't stink of onions. After that, she might consider it if I grew a little taller. Better off without her, that's what I say. Darren pushed the hair out of his eyes. His fingers were discolored. You looking at my fingers? I get cuts all the time. Plastic netting on the onions is a nightmare. It's worse than this. Darren pulled out a small pocket knife from his tracky pants pocket and unfolded it. Same color as his fingers. Black mist rolled into the room. Mortimer's ears rose and listened. Darren turned, watching the mist. "What's happening?" "It's reacting to you," I said. "I ain't done nothing." "It recognizes you." I kept my eyes on Darren. "You'll be safe, provided you stay in the chair." Darren cracked his knuckles. Lots of them think I'm stupid because I'm not a big lad, and I drag a trolley around. Nah, not me. I knew people because I walked around, go for a few beers with a couple of them. It was easy to look up some stuff online and get what I needed. Had ketamine in a couple of days, no questions asked. Darren looked at me. "See, lots of people don't bother about me. I know I'm not much to look at, or rich, or have 1 million followers on TikTok. Don't even drive yet. The people like Cressa think they can treat me like dog shit on their shoe." Darren wiped his nose on his wrist and wiped his wrist on his tracky pants. Mortimer raised his head, eyes on Darren. I knew Cressa walked through the churchyard after her shift, so I took my trolley there and hid it behind a tree and waited. My breath was visible, temp was dropping. There was no lights where I was waiting, where I could see the alley leading to the churchyard clearly. "Once you're done, bring her to me, in the tunnels," the squeaky voice whispered. I asked who it was, but I couldn't see anyone. "Don't back out now, boy," the squeaky voice said. I could hear her coming. I pulled a little plastic bag of ketamine out my pocket. I had 2 just in case. I made a small cut in the bag and held it in my palm. Cressa walked past. I grabbed her from behind and shoved the ketamine in her mouth and covered it with my hand. She struggled, and then she dropped. She was out, clean. "That's it, boy. Bring her in the tunnels," squeaky voice said. I looked where it was coming from and saw a figure scarper behind the bushes. That thing is tiny. I dumped Cressa on the trolley and pulled her back to my shop. There was nobody around to see me drag the trolley into my shop and down to the basement. It was easy peasy from there. I took her down into the tunnels. This time it was lit up with old tunnel lights. The whole place was yellow. I pulled the trolley down the ramp. "This way, boy." I followed it to the bend where I saw a plastic table and 2 old chairs set up. A pack of beer was on the table with a pack of cigarettes and a lighter. I looked at the cigarettes. "A trade. Once you're done with her, she's mine." A weird-looking thing stood there. It looked like a cross between a hobbit and a pit bull in a child's suit. Still don't know what it is. "What you on about?" I asked it. "Mine, mine, mine. I'll take her once you're done. Deal? What you going to do with her? Not your concern, boy. Just remember, you're dealing with Rickety Jones, and you don't go back on your deal." "No." Darren looked at me. "I got the name, but I still don't know what the thing was." "It's a carrion eater. Goblin. I'm surprised you struck a deal with it," I said. "What could it do? It's shorter than me. Spindly arms and legs. I could have kicked the snot out of it." I smiled. "The goblin would have followed you, even here, if you reneged on your deal." Darren looked at the fireplace. He did help me, though. Gave me the idea to get Cressa's boyfriend down to the tunnel. Then I could really show her who's the man. I looked at Mortimer, who watched black mist gathering around the sides of the room. It rolled and cawed as if listening to Darren's account. Rickety helped me do in Tony. He was a tall lad. I told him Cressa was waiting for him in the basement. The second he got down there, slice, Rickety split his ankle open with his claw. Tony fell to his knees. Rickety dived on his neck and bit him. I kept watching. It made me thirsty, but I just kept watching as Rickety ate Tony's neck. We pulled the body into the tunnel and closed the door. Darren looked at me. "Do you have anything to drink, gatekeeper?" I kept my eyes on him. He smiled. Rickety dragged his body with Tony on it. We walked back to Cressa. He stopped before the bend in the tunnel. "Go and tell her what you've done. Show her this." He gave me Tony's head. I took it as if it was a bag of veg. It didn't bother me none. When I showed Cressa the head, she freaked out and screamed. Rickety backhanded her, ripping her cheek. "Darren, Darren, please let me go." I watched Rickety. He was licking the blood from his fingers. It made me thirsty. "It was so much quieter in the Middle Ages. I could creep up and grab a morsel quickly. Now you kids just give me a headache. All you kids do is talk, non-stop. Shout, giggle, cry. Strike a pose on your phone. Talking, talking, talking. When you really have nothing to say, I know, I've been listening. You have no idea what is beneath you. Wait till you do." Rickety grinned. He had shark teeth. "Darren, stop calling me that. I'm Onion Boy, remember?" "I didn't mean it. I'm sorry." I grabbed her throat. My hand was different. I looked at it. It was losing its color. "Please," Cressa said. "Do it," Rickety said. "Who's the man now?" I pulled the onion net from my trolley and wrapped it around her throat, tightening it. Cressa watched me as I choked her. I was smiling as I did. I wanted more, so I tightened my grip. Blood spurt from the cuts on my hands. Rickety dashed to me and licked them. He kept licking. I tightened my grip. Rip. Cressa's eyes closed. Her head hung off her neck. I watched Rickety eat, slurping like he was enjoying a delicious soup. It didn't bother me none. It didn't bother me none. Then I found my fingers in my mouth. I was licking blood. "That's it, boy. You're nearly there. Whack! My backhander slammed Rickety against the wall. Dragging his trolley behind him, he left. It's already done. Take your beers and cigarettes. You bring your papa down here and show him who's the man. I'll be waiting. I went back to the basement. My dad was waiting with the police. They found Tony's phone there. My dad didn't even look at me when they took me away. He kept saying there was something wrong with me. Darren cracked his knuckles. Mortimer watched the black mist rise up the curtains, filling the side of the wall. It made the room darker. I sat in a cell, alone. It was cold, just like the tunnel, and then I heard it. Rickety came to see me in my cell. Don't know how he got in, but brought my knife. He told me to use it, then he left. Darren turned his head to expose a knife wound deep in his throat. My blood tastes good, like a cold pint from the vine. Darren's color drained from his face to match his colorless hands. Claws protruded from his fingers, sharp dagger-like. His smile was bigger. His eyes looked like a goblin's, green with black slits down the middle. Mortimer growled. In a flash, Darren was on me. Slam! I thrust my palm through his chest, sending him back to the chair. Mortimer pounced on him, holding him down. Black mist spread and cocooned him. Get off me, Darren said. Take him to the sub-basement. I'll be down in a second. Black mist pulled Darren out of the room. What are you doing? Wait! His form became Darren again. Please, don't do this. I didn't mean it. Take his trolley too. He'll need it. A tentacle shot to the trolley, wrapping itself around the handle. Yank. It was gone. Mortimer looked at me. It would be nice if once in a while they learned to lubricate the bearings on the wheels. I drank the last of my bourbon and placed the glass back on the table. Stood up and strode out the room, followed by Mortimer. We descended 2 flights of stairs. The last was the longest, to the sub-basement. Opposite the staircase was a monolith. Grey, veil, shimmering and alive. The abyss. I turned right and walked to the first door on the right and opened it to a barely lit chasm. A strong wind howled around us. Black mist held Darren beside a trapdoor in the ground. I strode over to it, followed by Mortimer, whose effulgence lit our path. That's the divinity within him. Black mist cowered at his presence. I opened the trapdoor. Quick! He's bringing another! A voice hissed from below. Mortimer barked. His effulgence glowed, making the shadowy beings disperse. Don't put me in there, Darren said. Took a moment and looked at what looked like a young teen. But I could see the goblin beneath his skin. Goblins, like Rickety Jones, watch you, follow you, listen. They do this for a year or more. They study your insecurities and bitterness. They want a mind they can twist. They are very selective who they choose to become one of them. And they only present themselves when they know you are theirs. Darren, you are what you do. You lick blood off your fingers. I looked at the black mist. Toss him in and make sure his trolley goes with him. Twang! Black mist flung Darren into the hole below. Giggles and screams were heard, followed by the clickety-click of trolley wheels. Slam! Trapdoor shut. Mortimer looked around at the sentience forming in the basement. The gatekeeper of the pit has sensed our presence. Black mist shot out the basement door like a dart. Mortimer kept by my side, his glow covering both of us, as the sentient red eyes looked down at us from above. I could see its silver-tipped horns. It was as tall as the temple above my house. Whoosh! White fire shot at us. Mortimer's effulgence held as the fire rebounded up, forcing the being to dodge it. Shift. Mortimer and I darted right as its large claw slammed on the ground where we would have been standing. Paving stones cracked. Mortimer growled as we both walked to the door. We stepped over the threshold as a white inferno lit up the basement. I shut it out by closing the door. What that was is an account for another time. Both Mortimer and I need to go back upstairs and make preparations. Hamish, our old friend, and a ginger cat, is coming home. See you next Sunday at 11 and I'll introduce you to him. Godspeed.